Hi everyone. Welcome back to Simple Understanding Channel, where we help you excel in your career and professional life. In today's video, we'll be diving into key terms and concepts for the CPIM Part 1, Basics of Supply Chain Management, BSCM exam. Whether you're just starting out or looking to deepen your knowledge, understanding these terms will be essential for your success. Let's get started. Here are 250 unique terms and key concepts with definitions for CPIM. Part 1. Basics of Supply Chain Management, BSCM, Introduction to Supply Chain Management. Supply Chain Management, SCM, the management of the flow of goods and services, including all processes that transform raw materials into final products. Supply Chain Network, a system of interconnected businesses involved in the ultimate provision of product and service packages required by end customers. Upstream Supply Chain, the processes involved in obtaining raw materials from suppliers. Downstream supply chain, the processes involved in delivering the final product to the end customer. Supply chain integration, coordination of the various elements of the supply chain to improve overall performance. Value chain, the full range of activities that businesses go through to bring a product or service to their customers. Supply chain visibility, the ability to track products in transit and gain a holistic view of the supply chain. Supply chain resilience, the capacity of a supply chain to persist, adapt, or transform in the face of change. Bullwhip effect, the phenomenon where order variability is amplified as orders move upstream in the supply chain. Supply chain risk management, the identification, assessment, and mitigation of risks within the supply chain. Global supply chain, a supply chain that spans multiple countries and continents. Reverse logistics, the process of moving goods from their typical final destination for the purpose of capturing value or proper disposal. Third-party logistics, 3PL, outsourcing logistics operations to a third party. Fourth-party logistics, 4PL, an integrator that assembles resources, capabilities, and technology to run a comprehensive supply chain solution. Green supply chain, a supply chain that incorporates environmentally friendly practices. Supplier code of conduct, standards that outline the ethical and legal standards for suppliers. Supply chain collaboration, working with supply chain partners to improve performance. Supply chain sustainability, managing environmental, social, and economic impacts across the supply chain. SCORE model, supply chain operations reference model, a framework for assessing and improving supply chain performance. Outsourcing, contracting out certain business functions or processes to external parties. Onshoring, relocating business processes back to the company's home country. Offshoring, relocating business processes to another country to reduce costs. E-commerce, buying and selling of goods or services using the internet. Digital supply chain, the application of advanced digital technologies to supply chain operations. Blockchain in supply chain, use of blockchain technology to enhance transparency and traceability in the supply chain. Supply chain networks and their components. Node, a point in the supply chain where goods are processed, transformed, or held. Hub, a central point in a supply chain network where activities such as sorting and redistribution occur. Spoke, a point in the supply chain that connects to the central hub. Logistics network, a network that includes all the components involved in the transportation, storage, and distribution of goods. Distribution center, a warehouse or specialized building that holds products to be redistributed to retailers, wholesalers, or consumers. Cross-docking, a logistics practice where products from a supplier or manufacturing plant are distributed directly to a customer or retail chain with minimal handling. Warehouse Management System, WMS, a software application designed to support warehouse operations. Transportation Management System, TMS, software that helps businesses plan, execute, and optimize the physical movement of goods. Supply chain nodes and links, the points, nodes, and connections, links in a supply chain network. Multi-echelon inventory, inventory management across multiple stages of the supply chain. Supplier, a business or individual that provides products or services to another entity. Manufacturer, a company that makes products from raw materials by using various processes, machinery, and operations. Distributor, an intermediary that stocks manufacturers' products and sells them to retailers or directly to customers. Retailer, a business that sells products or services directly to consumers. Customer, the end recipient of goods or services in a supply chain. Key performance indicators and metrics. Key performance indicator, KPI, a measurable value that demonstrates how effectively a company is achieving key business objectives. Inventory turnover, a measure of how many times inventory is sold or used in a given period. Order fulfillment cycle time, the total time taken from receiving a customer order until delivering the product to the customer. Perfect order rate, the percentage of orders that are delivered on time, in full, and without errors. Fill rate, the percentage of customer demand that is met without stockouts. On-time delivery, OTD, the measure of how often products are delivered by the promised delivery date. Order accuracy, the percentage of orders delivered without errors. Customer satisfaction, a measure of how products and services meet or exceed customer expectations. Gross margin return on investment, GMROI, a measure of inventory profitability, calculated as gross margin divided by average inventory cost. Days of inventory on hand, the number of days a company can sustain its operations with the inventory on hand. Backorder rate, the percentage of orders that cannot be fulfilled at the time of ordering due to lack of stock. Return on assets, a measure of how effectively a company uses its assets to generate profit. Supply chain cycle time, the total time it takes for a product to travel from the initial supplier to the end customer. Freight cost per unit, the total cost of transportation per unit of product. Order cycle time, the total time from order placement to order receipt. Stockout rate, the frequency with which inventory is exhausted. Demand forecast accuracy, a measure of how closely forecasted demand matches actual demand. Supplier lead time, the time it takes for a supplier to deliver goods after an order is placed. Cost to serve, the total cost associated with servicing a customer or fulfilling an order. Capacity utilization rate, the percentage of a company's total production capacity that is actually being used. Demand management. Demand management, the process of forecasting, planning, and managing the demand for products and services. Demand planning, the process of forecasting future customer demand to ensure that products can be delivered reliably and efficiently. Demand forecasting, the process of predicting future customer demand using historical data and other information. Sales forecasting, estimating future sales volumes over a specific period. Quantitative forecasting, using mathematical models and historical data to predict future demand. Qualitative forecasting, using expert judgment and market research to predict future demand. Time series analysis, a statistical method that analyzes time-ordered data points to predict future demand. Causal forecasting, a forecasting method that identifies and uses causal relationships between demand and other variables. Moving average, a simple time series forecasting method that calculates the average of a fixed number of past periods. Exponential smoothing, a time series forecasting technique that applies decreasing weights to past data. Regression analysis, a statistical method for identifying the relationships between variables and predicting future demand. Seasonal index, a measure of seasonal variation in demand. Demand shaping, strategies used to influence customer demand to match supply capabilities. Customer order decoupling point, the point in the supply chain where the product is customized to the customer's order. Demand sensing, the process of detecting real-time changes in demand patterns. Collaborative planning, forecasting, and replenishment, CPFR, a process where supply chain partners collaborate on demand forecasts and replenishment plans. Demand variability, the extent to which customer demand fluctuates over time. Backorder, an order for a product that cannot be filled at the current time due to lack of inventory. Stockout, a situation where demand cannot be fulfilled due to lack of inventory. Demand signal, data or information that indicates changes in customer demand. Before continue, let's take a short break. And if you find this video helpful, please don't hesitate to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to Simple Understanding channel for more helpful videos. Let's continue with master planning. Master planning, the process of coordinating production, inventory, and distribution to meet demand. Sales and operations planning, SNOP, a process to align production and inventory with demand and business goals. Master production schedule, MPS, a detailed plan that states how many of each product will be produced and when. Aggregate planning, the process of developing, analyzing, and maintaining a preliminary, approximate schedule of the overall operations of an organization. Production planning, the process of planning the production of goods in terms of quantity and timing. Rough cut capacity planning, RCCP, a high-level capacity planning technique that checks the feasibility of the master production schedule. Time fence, a boundary in the master schedule that separates periods in which changes are permissible from those in which changes are restricted. Available to promise, ATP, the quantity of a product that is available for sale to new customers, considering current inventory and planned production. Capable to promise, CTP, the process of committing orders against available capacity as well as inventory. Supply planning, the process of ensuring that the supply of goods meets demand. Production schedule, a detailed timetable for manufacturing activities. Order promising, the process of confirming the delivery date for customer orders based on inventory and production plans. Material plan, a plan for the required materials and components to meet production schedules. Level production plan, a production plan that maintains a steady production rate over time. Chase production plan, a production plan that adjusts production rates to match demand. Hybrid production plan, a production plan that combines elements of level and chase production plans. Load profile, a representation of the capacity requirements of a production plan. Frozen zone, the period in the master schedule where no changes are allowed. Firm zone, the period in the master schedule where changes are restricted but possible. Planning horizon, the length of time into the future for which a plan is made. Material requirements planning, MRP. Material requirements planning, MRP, a system for calculating the materials and components needed to manufacture a product. MRP inputs, information required for MRP, including the bill of materials, inventory data, and master production schedule. Bill of materials, MOM, a list of materials, components, and assemblies needed to make a product. Inventory status file, a record of inventory levels for each item in stock. MRP outputs, the results generated by the MRP system, including planned orders and rescheduling notices. Planned order release, the quantity and timing of planned orders generated by the MRP system. Planned order receipt, the quantity and timing of materials expected to be received. Net requirements, the quantity of an item needed after considering current inventory and scheduled receipts. Gross requirements, the total demand for an item before considering inventory and scheduled receipts. Lead time, the time it takes for an order to be fulfilled from the time it is placed. Lot size, the quantity of units to be produced or ordered at one time. Lot for lot, an ordering method where the exact quantity required is ordered for each period. Economic order quantity, EOQ, a lot sizing formula that minimizes total ordering and holding costs. Time phasing, scheduling of material deliveries to align with production schedules. Explosion, the process of breaking down a product into its component parts for MRP calculations. Pegging, the ability to trace the source of demand for a component up through the BOM. Capacity requirements planning, CRP, the process of determining if a business has the necessary capacity to meet its production goals. Load leveling, distributing work evenly across resources to avoid bottlenecks. MRP2, manufacturing resource planning, an integrated method of operational and financial planning for manufacturing companies. Time bucket, the unit of time used in the MRP system, typically days or weeks. Action message, recommendations generated by the MRP system for expediting, delaying, or canceling orders. Planned order, orders that are scheduled by the MRP system to meet future demand. Firm planned order, an order that is manually adjusted and fixed in the MRP system. Rescheduling notices, instructions from the MRP system to adjust the timing of open orders. Safety stock, extra inventory held to guard against uncertainty in demand or supply. Phantom bill of materials, a BOM used for subassemblies that are not stocked but are immediately consumed in further production. Bucketless MRP, an MRP system that does not use fixed time buckets but instead calculates requirements continuously. Gross to net calculation, the process of converting gross requirements into net requirements by subtracting inventory on hand and scheduled receipts. Available inventory, the amount of inventory available for use, considering allocations, safety stock, and on-hand quantities. Inventory replenishment, the process of restoring inventory levels to meet future demand. Capacity management, the process of ensuring a business has the capacity to meet production goals. Capacity planning, the process of determining the production capacity needed by an organization to meet changing demands for its products. Finite capacity planning, planning that takes into account the actual capacity available, preventing overloads. Infinite capacity planning, planning that assumes unlimited capacity, often resulting in scheduling conflicts and overloads. Resource planning, the process of determining and allocating the necessary resources for production. Rough cut capacity planning, RCCP, a high-level capacity planning method that checks the feasibility of the master production schedule. Detailed capacity planning, a detailed and accurate approach to planning that considers specific resource constraints. Load profile, a graphical representation of capacity requirements over time. Bottleneck, a stage in the production process that has a lower capacity than preceding or subsequent stages, limiting overall throughput. Work center, a specific area in a production facility where particular operations are carried out. Shop floor control, the process of managing and monitoring work in process on the production floor. Capacity utilization, a measure of how much of the available capacity is being used. Production rate, the number of units produced per unit of time. Overall equipment effectiveness, OEE, a measure of how effectively a manufacturing operation is utilized. Line balancing, the process of assigning tasks to workstations in such a way that each has approximately the same amount of work. Runtime, the time required to complete a particular operation or process. Setup time, the time required to prepare a machine or process for production. Downtime, the period when a machine or system is not in operation, often due to maintenance or breakdowns. Capacity cushion, extra capacity reserved to handle unexpected increases in demand or temporary losses of production capacity. Queue time, the amount of time a job spends waiting before processing. Manufacturing lead time, the total time required to manufacture a product from order release to finished goods. Cycle time, the total time from the beginning to the end of a process. Throughput, the rate at which a system generates output. Level loading, the practice of smoothing production by scheduling an even amount of work. Workload, the total amount of work assigned to a work center or resource. Inventory management. Inventory management, the process of ordering, storing, and using a company's inventory. Inventory types, various categories of inventory, including raw materials, work in progress, and finished goods. Inventory functions, the roles inventory plays in a business, such as buffering against demand variability. Cycle stock, inventory that is used to satisfy regular demand. Safety stock, extra inventory held to guard against uncertainty in demand or supply. Pipeline inventory, inventory that is in transit between locations. Anticipation inventory, inventory held in anticipation of known future demand or price increases. Buffer inventory, inventory used to protect against stockouts. Decoupling inventory, inventory used to decouple different stages in the production process. Obsolete inventory, inventory that is no longer usable or saleable. Excess inventory, inventory that exceeds current demand or usage requirements. Perpetual inventory system, a system that continuously tracks inventory levels. Periodic inventory system, a system that updates inventory levels at regular intervals. Just in time, an inventory strategy that aims to reduce holding costs by receiving goods only as they are needed. ABC analysis, a method of categorizing inventory items based on their importance. Economic order quantity, EOQ, the optimal order quantity that minimizes total inventory costs. Reorder point, the inventory level at which a new order should be placed to avoid stockouts. Stock keeping unit, SKU, a unique identifier for each distinct product and service that can be purchased. Inventory turnover, a measure of how often inventory is sold and replaced over a period. Lead time, the time it takes for an order to be fulfilled from the time it is placed. Holding cost, the cost associated with storing inventory. Ordering cost, the cost of placing an order and receiving goods. Stockout cost, the cost incurred when inventory is not available to meet demand. Lot sizing, determining the order quantity for production or purchase. Cycle counting, a periodic counting of inventory items to ensure accuracy. Consignment inventory, inventory that is in the possession of the customer but remains owned by the supplier. Vendor-managed inventory, VMI, a system where the supplier manages the inventory levels for the customer. Inventory accuracy, the degree to which the inventory records match the physical inventory. Inventory shrinkage, the loss of products between the point of manufacture and the point of sale. Demand variability, the extent to which customer demand fluctuates over time. Inventory policy, rules and guidelines governing inventory management. Service level, the probability that inventory will be sufficient to meet demand. Safety lead time, additional lead time added to the normal lead time as a buffer against uncertainty. Back ordering, allowing orders to be placed even when the product is out of stock, with fulfillment occurring when inventory becomes available. Inventory position, the total of on-hand inventory plus on-order inventory minus back orders. Purchasing and supplier planning procurement, the process of finding, acquiring, and buying goods, services, or works from an external source. Strategic sourcing, a method of managing procurement processes to align with business strategy. Supplier relationship management, SRM, the systematic approach to evaluating vendors that supply goods, materials, and services to an organization. Request for proposal, RFP, a document that solicits proposals, often through a bidding process, for the procurement of a service or asset. Request for quotation, a document used to invite suppliers to bid on supplying a specific quantity of goods or services. Purchase order, PO, a commercial document issued by a buyer to a seller, indicating types, quantities, and agreed prices for products or services. Supplier selection, the process of finding and choosing suppliers for procurement. Supplier evaluation, assessing the performance and capabilities of potential and existing suppliers. Supplier scorecard, a tool used to evaluate supplier performance based on various criteria. Single sourcing, procuring a product or service from one supplier. Multiple sourcing, procuring a product or service from multiple suppliers. Outsourcing, contracting out certain business functions or processes to external parties. Onshoring, relocating business processes back to the company's home country. Offshoring, relocating business processes to another country to reduce costs. Total cost of ownership, TCO, the purchase price of an asset plus the costs of operation. Lead time, the time it takes for an order to be fulfilled from the time it is placed. Supplier lead time, the time it takes for a supplier to deliver goods after an order is placed. Order cycle time, the total time from order placement to order receipt. Procurement cycle, the process cycle from the identification of needs to the final procurement of goods and services. Supplier certification, a process to ensure suppliers meet certain performance and quality standards. E-procurement, the business-to-business, business-to-consumer, or business-to-government purchase and sale of supplies, work, and services through the Internet. Spend analysis, the process of analyzing the spending patterns of an organization. Category management, managing a group of related products as a single strategic business unit. Contract management, the process of managing contract creation, execution, and analysis to maximize operational and financial performance. Procurement strategy, a plan for optimizing the procurement process to meet business objectives. Supplier risk management, identifying and mitigating risks associated with supplier relationships. Supplier development, efforts by a company to improve the performance and capabilities of its suppliers. Blanket purchase order, a long-term agreement between a buyer and supplier to deliver goods or services at a predetermined price over a specified period. Just-in-time purchasing, JITP, procuring goods to arrive just in time for their use in production or sales. Supplier collaboration, working closely with suppliers to improve supply chain performance. Physical distribution, the movement of finished goods from the end of the production line to the consumer. Distribution requirements planning, DRP, a system for managing inventory in a distribution network. Transportation management, planning, executing, and optimizing the movement of goods. Logistics, the process of planning, implementing, and controlling the efficient flow and storage of goods. Warehousing, the storage of goods in a warehouse. Material handling, the movement, protection, storage, and control of materials and products throughout manufacturing, warehousing, distribution, consumption, and disposal. Cross-docking, a logistics practice where products from a supplier or manufacturing plant are distributed directly to a customer or retail chain with minimal handling. Third-party logistics, 3PL, outsourcing logistics operations to a third party. Fourth-party logistics, 4PL, an integrator that assembles resources, capabilities, and technology to run a comprehensive supply chain solution. Freight forwarder, an agent who acts on behalf of importers, exporters, or other companies to organize the safe, efficient, and cost-effective transportation of goods. Reverse logistics, the process of moving goods from their typical final destination for the purpose of capturing value or proper disposal. Last mile delivery, the final step of the delivery process where the product is delivered to the end customer. Intermodal transportation, the use of multiple modes of transportation to move goods. LTL, less than truckload, a shipping service for relatively small freight. FTL, full truckload, a shipping service for freight that fills an entire truck. Freight consolidation, combining shipments from multiple sources into a single load to reduce transportation costs. Distribution center, DC, a warehouse or specialized building that holds products to be redistributed to retailers, wholesalers, or consumers. Cold chain, a temperature-controlled supply chain. Customs brokerage, a service provided by a broker that involves clearing goods through customs for importers and exporters. Order fulfillment, the complete process from point of sale to delivery of a product to the customer. Third-party warehousing, outsourcing warehousing needs to a third party. Pick and pack, a process where items from orders are picked from inventory and packed for shipment. Transshipment, the shipment of goods to an intermediate destination before reaching their final destination. Drop shipping, a retail fulfillment method where a store doesn't keep the products it sells in stock. Instead, it purchases the item from a third party and has it shipped directly to the customer. Load planning, the process of optimizing the load of a truck or container. Distribution channel, the path through which goods and services travel from the vendor to the consumer. Freight bill, a document issued by a carrier that provides the details of a shipment. Transportation carrier, a company that provides transportation services. Freight audit, the process of validating freight bills for accuracy. Load tender, a document or electronic submission used to offer freight for shipment to a carrier. These terms and concepts cover a broad range of topics in the basics of supply chain management and should serve as a comprehensive guide for CPIM Part 1. If you find this video helpful, please don't hesitate to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to Simple Understanding channel for more helpful videos.